Yes, there is.
I don't know, there's a few people probably watch it
Yeah, true.
Hi, home, I'm honey.
later.
George will either watch it live or it's had it on Roku on.
There you go.
So you got an audience of at least one.
You should be able to pull
That's
it
all
live
we
on
need.
Roku as well. Works that way pretty well. Hey, it's March 2012. Home Island Users Group. I am. Huh? Oh. I am John Larson. I'm a systems engineer for the AIM Institute. How many people is their first time here? No one? You are?
Liars. Liars, all of you.
Should we go around the room and say who we are, what we
That's
do?
not a bad idea.
Haven't done that in a while?
There's a reason we don't do that.
All right, we're starting with Aaron now. Go ahead.
Aaron Grothy, Linux dude, all around town guy.
.com.
Don't
No.
mention my employer.
You're ashamed? Are you ashamed to mention your employer?
It's a mutual phone guy.
I don't know where we're going. Somebody else go. It's random now.
We're going back or up?
So just stay this side of the room, then we'll go this side of the room. So.
Joe Galizia, Linux user.
I'm Fritz, I don't do any useful.
Just go solo.
Kevin Murray, likewise. IT Pro, open.
Kevin Snodgrass, unemployed.
This is the Kevin table.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, you must be named Kevin to sit in the front row.
My name's Mike. I'm a student at Iowa Western.
Cool.
Awesome. Welcome, Mike.
Do I really have to?
Go, Sam. Go.
Come on, Sam.
Sam, I'm a homeschool student, so I have a lot of free time.
Independent software consultant.
There you go.
Cherish it. Cherish
That
it.
sounds better.
I'm Sam's
Chauffeur.
Sam's right.
My name is Sergio. I go to school at Metro. And for the Linux certificate, no one else goes to. The only student probably.
I think we'll call him the hardware geek.
I know he's got quite a collection.
I'm George. I'm
Hi, George.
server architect, engineer type person.
There you go.
I'm Craig Wolf. I'm just an IT geek.
He's a Mac guy in the wrong room.
No, it's called Universal.
Oh, that's
I
right.
read it all.
That's right.
You know, Craig will be here next week at the same time, same channel.
I'm Adam. I work for AIM with John.
With Bob.
I'm sorry?
Are we recording already?
Yeah.
You do it all.
Well, no comment.
Oh, we've kind of talked a little bit about this already. The Raspberry Pi orders. I was able to get mine in. I know Jeff Hinrichs was going to wait to see.
Wait, 12 seconds till they're sold out?
Well, I think his comment on my Google Plus post was he'll wait for the later batches. If there's any problems, they'll probably be fished out by that point. Or worked
The
out.
2013 badges.
Yeah.
$35 at cheap ass.
Yeah. I know.
That's a good point.
But there is the cotton candy. That is supposed to be this month. That's $199. It's a little USB stick. HDMI on one side, USB on the other. Now, what's kind of puzzled both Adam and I about how this thing works is you're supposed to be able to plug it into a computer and use the screen on a laptop. But it's an ARM processor system. How does it use the display from the stick?
How much do you want to bet it's VNC?
Yeah, probably his own bed.
That's probably a good idea.
Oh, I never thought of
Okay.
that.
It's probably a network adapter, the USB ports for power and network, I'll bet you.
But you're also supposed to be able to plug it into a TV
Through the
through
HDMI.
HDMI and turn any TV into like a full-fledged Android device.
And it's got a
Well,
micro
which one of
SD
you's already
slot.
bought one?
Yeah,
We have pre-ordered a cotton candy one to.
Is it micro SD or SD?
I think it's micro.
Ostensibly.
I'm looking right now. It's
Micro.
micro SD.
Yeah.
And John pre-ordered his Raspberry Pi, so we'll find out.
There you go.
We were thinking if we have a bunch of TVs hanging in the hallways up here, just for like, you know, this office is this way. It'd be fun to have one of those hanging off there and be able to actually run a computer on it to do, you know, presentations.
Interact, because right now it just
Or
shows
whatever.
pictures.
It just shows pictures.
Don't
I think all these
most
offices doing one too.
TVs today
Oh, really?
have
Yeah, all
a
They have their own
Which
apps.
way?
Yeah, they do. But
Just a little-
I can hang a laptop somewhere and then make sure it has to
The
stay
little USB
cool.
stick type thing.
When this little thing will plug in and you just don't worry about it.
Mhm.
And
And it
you don't have
draws.
to worry about
No.
any cables.
Remind me, does it draw power from HDMI or is it
I-
DC adapter?
I'm not sure, 100% sure on that cotton
From
candy.
the USB.
Well, but when you plug it into
USB,
HDMI,
though.
it's
If you connect it through HDMI.
Yeah, it's gonna take
Well,
something to
doesn't it
drive
provide
that.
power when you have to, if you could plug
the
it in
newer
the
ones
stick? I
have the
don't know.
MHDL. There's TVs for MHDL. Dave Thacker,
Okay, hang on.
introduce yourself.
The requirement is a display with a USB or HDMI port. In this case, a USB power cord is needed as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's got
gets
the
its
micro
power through
USB on there and.
And a lot of TVs have a USB
Oh,
plug.
and
But it
TVs
doesn't
have.
provide power.
Some TVs have USB.
Usually
ports in
pretty
them,
close
so
to
you
the
can use
HDMI
power.
port.
There you go.
Yeah. So you could essentially run a little cable from the TV to the
One
USB and probably run it from your television.
And
Because
if
most
you
of them
can't-
have that as
Well, if
a.
you can't, you can run right over to the power and plug
Yeah.
USB power.
Right.
I mean, how many phone chargers you got?
Yeah.
Those are going to be very sought after items with all these little devices coming up.
What, power or USB port?
Phone chargers, because they all have the same connectors as the Raspberry Pi
Oh, yeah.
and Cotton Candy. They'll be using the same power source.
By the way, how the cotton candy does the, on a normal computer, I think if you look at their, page, it says they have it's got a built-in virtualization client for just about everything.
Nice.
Really?
That's cool.
Wow.
That's
It's got
interesting.
Wi-Fi built into it.
Yep.
Can't
And
put it on
Bluetooth.
Yeah, 2.1. Holy crap.
That's probably because it's the same chip, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of those chips are all the
Yeah.
same. I mean, the Kindle Fire has Bluetooth, but it's not enabled. But it's just because it's built into the chip.
Actually, Nook has the two. They've
Oh, yeah?
actually active got it working.
Well, good for them. Myth TV 025 beta is out.
What's new?
UI rewrite.
Version numbers.
Yeah.
It's one height.
Some stuff on the back end that they're taking care of. I really don't remember because I read it like 2 weeks ago what they were changing.
Did you hear they forked Myth TV?
Yes, it's called Torque.
Torque,
How,
yeah.
how big is feature bloat Myth TV these days?
Not that much. I mean, it's been almost a year since the last release.
George, what's the reason for the fork, do you know?
I quit using
Huh?
it
What's the reason for the fork?
5-6 years ago. because
One of
it
the
just
lead
became
developers
too
wanted to
much.
get rid of a bunch of crufty code that's in.
And
TV.
that's what they've essentially done with this version. Now I remember they've taken out a lot of stuff that's not
Well,
in
apparently
use.
they didn't do it fast enough. Since your fork is-
I remember
Yeah.
XVMC is now gone.
XVMC.
The
Oh,
motion compensation engine for Xvideo.
Right.
So it's all going to be VitaPow and the VA API. So like Intel cards will have video acceleration as well as the ATI stuff, AMD stuff.
So those of us that got really old hardware, that's a
Well, you can probably use the OpenGL stuff.
Yes.
Maybe.
That doesn't work real good.
Yeah. Well, then don't
Well,
upgrade. You
you
don't
have
have
to
to
be
upgrade.
I don't use it, so.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I
But
put
if it
a
was
I put a
going
myth.
to-
I helped somebody put a myth system in at their house, and they've never updated it. They're on Fedora 11, so it tells you how long ago it is I did it.
Is he
The
still
Cougars.
running- Is he still running that?
Yep.
Is he really?
So the kids loved it.
Awesome.
It
So
was Fedora
Eight, bro.
Core 3 when I first put
yeah.
that
So Beefy Miracle Alpha is now out.
Kidding me that that's the actual name.
They that's what it got voted as.
Beefy.
The Beefy Miracle.
I'm sorry, I just picture a.
I don't know if you ever saw any of these.
Stop right there.
I'm just not gonna go to the foreign film thing.
Bless
know,
you, my
that's-
son. Have some bologna.
Throwing fedoras out going, bless you,
Oh.
bless you.
Father Guido Sarducci.
There you go. Beefy.
And Ubuntu 12.04 LTS beta. One of the things that did not make the cut for 17 was default BTRFS file system. So it'll still be extended for.
Oh, darn.
They're switching to BTRFS for default. Wow. Why?
Why that file system requires an additional partitioning, something else? Why?
What?
Why that system, BTRS?
I'm not
BTRFS.
too familiar with ButterFS. I'm just going to say ButterFS because it's easier to say.
That's what
Yeah.
I haven't played with it yet.
They're still waiting on the FSCK tool to be working.
Oh, well, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, they still got some issues in certain cases with certain size drives. Actually, the first people are gonna actually ship with ButterFS are gonna probably be Oracle. They're gonna planning to make that the standard in the next version of their Linux, because they're willing to push it on it. And it's still gonna be more stable than XFS, so.
Does anybody have an actual rundown of the feature differences between
Yeah, why is it better?
ButterFS and ext4?
Well, it does the
Wikipedia.
snapshotting, it does a lot of the stuff that you can actually do with SAMs.
Oh,
It's
got
bringing
some
a lot of
LVM
SAM,
stuff
it's
built in.
like.
So it's
more
got
like ZFS.
corporate use.
Oh, yeah, and it handles much bigger, it handles very big drive, which ext4 does as well. But it's supposed to be handled, we'll do a lot of things faster. It's gonna be, it's the future standard.
So higher than 8 terabytes.
It's way higher.
Okay.
Like CFS, I guess. That's cool.
I like CFS, but.
And Ubuntu 12.04 LTS beta
Yeah, it's like
is out.
perpetual beta.
Dave, are you still involved with the Loco team, or is that still existing?
Well, and run
That's
LV
really
in the end
all
instead of
it's-
OV.
Really?
Run the really native stuff.
Hmm.
They still force feed
But I-
Unity with.
I haven't,
Well, there's, I know
we
they're
were
running
running,
Yeah.
That's one thing I just covered
and,
less than a week ago.
I just.
so I haven't upgraded.
Really?
I just got
Was it
tired.
Unity?
Blow.
Kind of,
Switched
Oh.
to the-
I see. That was in my news item last
People
month.
welcome you back.
Lots
Sure they will.
on my ancient-
Looking at this display stuff that's going on and going.
We'll do it this way.
With the HUD?
This is lit.
You know, the argument,
Screw
the
you.
one argument I've heard
My
for
way.
Unity though, that actually makes sense,
Do it my way.
is that they're attempting to do the Microsoft route, which is to establish
Just like Linux.
a standardized UI across PCs, tablets, and televisions.
Right. Does
So,
anybody
the-
try Windows 8 yet?
I have not.
It is, I know people who have.
So, it holds true with the Star Trek films.
I was gonna say.
And the numbering system.
Every other one is terrible, right?
It is.
7 good, Vista bad.
It works quite well on Windows Phone 7. Windows Phone, it works reasonable on tablets. Well, you get a full screen thing, it tries to put everything full screen, which just drives me nuts. It doesn't believe in
If you've got-
Well, if you don't have touchscreens, you're gonna have a lot of people putting fingerprints on things.
It'll show it.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I actually-
There's different previews available for download.
I tried to, I admit that I did that last week.
What?
Someone's computer, I went to do this.
Oh, really?
And I was like, whoa, that's not a touchscreen. Because I wanted to manipulate the image on the screen and make it bigger. And my first thought was to do this. And I kind of was surprised at myself for doing
Run
it.
the dark side, John.
Yeah.
Touch is done to people? Touch first interface.
Well, at least I didn't switch my mouse pointer direction with the release of an OS, so.
What?
Oh, the scrolling on the Mac?
Yeah.
It's reversed
The
Yeah.
trackpad.
with
Yeah.
10.7 by default. To make it like the iPhone.
So you drag your finger.
More intuitive, my ass.
I don't know if you're asking more intuitive or not, but
Wow.
Took me 30
that's-
minutes to figure out how to turn it off, too.
see, if you'd have come to one of my
Just do
Mac
a
things,
blend.
I told you all about that.
That was a lovely segue.
As soon as 10.7 came out.
That was a lovely segue. I like that.
I drove myself crazy this weekend in DC with the GPS thing that Hertz puts in the car. You ignore the buttons, I'm trying to do the touch screen.
Oh, right. It's not working. Why is this responding?
Hey,
There he is.
come on in.
I'm scared about this. Theater So said that ButterFS has a number of the same design ideas that Riser 3 and 4 had.
That's not.
That's not a correlation you want to put in the same sentence.
Nobody got. Wait, I was gonna say.
I'm
Wait,
less than thrilled.
Murder
no.
joke.
I was just gonna say.
Oh, ow,
Kills his wife.
Oh, man.
But did his wife enjoy it?
We're nothing. to
Tough
find classy
room,
joke
tough
here.
I haven't even started the beer yet.
I know.
Well, some of us
We should just do this meeting at a bar, really, just save it.
Okay.
Same time.
There really isn't any luncheon results. I got one email off list as I requested from Craig.
Which is not a significant sample size.
Exactly.
Hey!
So
You're not significant.
there was one on-list suggestion of a location. Yes, Dave.
I was going to email you Blue Planet because I see you check in there all the time.
Yes.
And it's fairly close to my current work.
63rd and Center.
Well, that's pretty central.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna have an office anymore.
That's near your place.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Craig Blue close to us.
They have gluten-free stuff that my wife can eat, so that's why we go there a lot. In fact, pretty much almost every Saturday night we're there. So. Not enough to make a poll. Should we post a poll with the suggestions? I can make my own suggestions.
Why not?
We would prefer local businesses over national chains, but don't limit yourself if it's good, easy access. So, Hurley had some good ideas when he was talking about putting stuff on a calendar and then making a date of it. I don't know if anybody remembers seeing that.
Yep.
I know it's difficult for people to make it to things. That's why I thought maybe once a quarter it would be easier for people to make time to go to one rather than every month. But I'm not sure if that worked out as well. I mean, how many people have been to a lunch in the past 6 months?
What?
OLUG
How
lunch.
many have ever been to a lunch?
Oh,
Oh, that's right.
There we go.
I've gone.
No, Joe goes to the Council Bluff stuff.
I've been to California.
But I haven't been to one in a long time, but it's, more work related because of where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. McClellan.
Having
Yeah.
to either take a day off to go to lunch.
Would you rather do a lunch on a
40, 30
Saturday?
minute drive.
No. Okay, that's fine.
But
That's
when
that
you
cuts
get a
into
half
family
hour,
time.
You only get a half hour.
I myself probably wouldn't want to do that either. It'd be too much.
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind it being a dinner once in a while either. I've been trying to get to the surf breakfast or lunch. I haven't made any of those either. I think I made one in June, like a year ago, and they didn't have it that day. An OLUG FAC Friday afternoon club.
The Friday afternoon club, we're all going to go drive go-karts at Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
When?
That's not cheap.
I know it's not cheap.
Well, the weather's getting nicer, we can go to Papio Fun Park and do that.
That's good.
Paintball.
Paintball.
Got
Yeah.
my own gun.
Take that, command line!
Well, I got a lot of guns, but they don't work with paintball.
If you want to
Win every time.
You want to recreate that experience of Doom system administration. Everybody wears a little pid
I
across
missed that.
over their head.
I'll bring one of the pellet guns.
So, more discussion. Try to come up with an idea.
One that shoots under.
Talk with the officiates, and I'll see if I've got something.
Just thinking about it.
It's like a 22 short.
Of course, next time we'll want to call for a presenter. What subjects you want to hear about?
Butter FS.
Butter FS. Who wants to talk about butter?
How do you fix it?
Yeah.
How about System Tap?
What is that?
Ooh. Remind me what that is again.
System Tap is the Linux implementation of dtrace, which actually use to modify and trace your application to actually figure out why the hell it's so damn slow.
The good old Solaris.
Oh.
It's a different implementation of it. They've implemented parts of it. I'm just going through it right now. They're documenting a good chunk of the Java stuff, so you can actually figure stuff. What's amazing is you can actually figure out compiled programs that you don't actually have control. Like, let's say you want to figure out why. I've used dtrace quite a bit on Oracle and stuff, and it's actually quite amazing how well it works. System Tap I've just started digging into.
Oh, so you don't need the source code to run it?
No. As long as you have the instrumentation points inside the executable, you can actually figure it out. But it is actually a very cool system. System Tap I've just started digging into, but it's pretty
Do you think Brian would know anything about that? Mr. Network guy?
How is it different from S-Trace?
It does, well, it does more, it does.
Is it good?
The late comer.
It is a little more than S-Trace can, because you can understand actual, you can actually, it gives you the information out in terms of timing and profiling, stuff like that, which you don't get with S-Trace. You get, it'll tell you what command is executed in the command line, but it doesn't tell you percentages of time and that type of information. So it gives you a lot of that kind of stuff. The guys who did PHP used it extensively to tune a lot of their performance issues. They were finding some tremendous benefits with the dtrace stuff.
This is more of a profile of the S-Trace system.
Yeah, it's different.
It's like
This is what's built
profile,
in.
they're gonna do by it.
No, it's not gproc. It's built into Linux kernel. I think it's systemtrace.org. Systemtap.org.
Systemtap.org.
Oh, I forgot to mention that GitHub got hacked.
Who did?
GitHub got hacked.
Great.
Wow.
The Ruby on Rails.
Now-
They proved it was hacked. It was apparently hacked.
All he did was make a new project that was funny, and they locked him out, figured out how he did it. He wasn't being malicious. They fixed the patch, reviewed what he did, and then reinstated him. So,
Oh, so it's like a gray hat.
Yeah, it was all
Great
good.
attitude.
It was all good. He was
Yeah.
just proving it could be done.
yeah.
It was a Ruby on
But a lot of
Ruby
the,
on
a lot of the
Rails.
headlines just said GitHub hacked, and then if you didn't read the context, kind of like
I
a lot of
like-
Washington Post stuff like that.
I like the system tap idea. That sounds really interesting. I would like, I mean, me personally, I would like to know more about BTRFS, if there's anything you can talk about. Just compare and contrast.
System D.
System, yeah, that's a good one. How about System D?
Yeah.
System V or?
System D, what,
You're,
Oh, yes.
you're installing.
I would
Yeah.
like to know more about that. 'cause
You're soaking in it.
I'm not exactly
I'd
thrilled
love to
with
know
it.
what I'm soaking in then.
yeah.
That's
Not
the
yet a choice,
replacement
right?
for init.
Yeah.
Thought they
With
was-
the Fedora
There's a lot of
17 on.
things that they've added in the last couple
16.
of years I'm not
16
real
on.
thrilled with.
It was,
No,
it
I
was
miss my
in,
RC.ID
it
directories.
was in 14, not usable. It was in 15 by default. In 16, it was a lot better. But that's,
Yeah, that's a
When
good, that's a good.
George might not be here for that because of Leonard.
When
No,
17 goes gold, maybe.
Oh, okay,
it'll
I'm
be
just
fixed,
kidding.
so.
Where does that stand in Red Hat? then?
All over it.
Is it in six?
It's essentially Red Hat developed. Yeah. Well,
no,
not
that's-
6.
It's not in 6.
It'll be 7.
Yeah, if,
Okay,
if
it'll
it's,
be
it
seven.
makes it there.
6 is essentially 12/13 Fedora. So go ahead, maybe 5 versions, and then you'll get maybe 7. Gosh, Red Hat 5 is going to be around until 2017,
Yeah.
they announced.
Wow.
So that's going to
10 years.
be quite a while. Yeah. Trying to beat out that XP.
One of the problems with System D that I've encountered is the same thing that I had with UDEV with hard drives getting rearranged.
Yeah. Well, that's
I've
what the
got
UID
multiple-
is supposed to try to solve.
Where I've got
Yeah.
multiple, well, but where I've got, that doesn't work for some things though. Where I've got a problem and UID won't fix this with multiple tuner cards, but they're not identical. They're identical cards, but they're not identical as to their input feeds. And I have to find out whenever I reboot from like a new kernel or anything, I gotta go in and find out which card is which one and rearrange everything.
Well, it's kind of like the old Ethernet port issue. You know,
Which one got 0?
that's why they switched to putting the hardware MAC addresses in the config files.
And
But SUSE
whatever-
still sometimes.
Yeah, whatever
On the
it
older
takes
stuff.
to get consistency. I want the hard drive in my laptop to be SDA, and I want the USB attached drive to be SDB. And I want whichever one of the 2 or 3 or however many cards I got in the system, I want to know they're going to be consistently the same number so that I'm not recording dead air
Sure.
or the wrong channel.
Well,
I have a recommendation for a topic. MySQL clustering by George Neal.
Hannah on there, he's got a little of that. too.
Because I know that's what. Oh, is it? Has he?
There might be a lot of profanity.
That's okay.
I don't know why it can't be something.
All right, so I don't want to cut into all of Adam's time. So yes,
Some sort of embedded, maybe embedded systems, open embedded systems.
open embedded
Sure.
systems.
Something, yeah, something for embedded systems.
PDR-250,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
What do you use?
Has anybody seen,
Any sort of
here's
address
another one,
that changes.
SSSD?
Is consistent.
SSSD. What's that?
It's authentication
Hard
mechanism
zero slot number
that
2,
Red Hat is
hard
the Open AI, no, not Open AI, what is it?
Free IPA.
Free IPA, that's it. It's basically an authentication system that'll use like LDAP or AD or whatever as back end to do your authentication. It's coming up now a lot in Revit and a lot of the newer systems where they're actually trying to integrate multiple authentication mechanisms on top of PAN, you know.
On top.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my screen. That's my screen there.
I like that. man.
Stand before.
Somebody was a gamer when he was a little boy.
Stand before would be especially if you have stuff in LDAP currently, you want to migrate it.
It's random. Sometimes you get the portal kind of companion cubes dropping down.
All right, I'll make notes of these and, Infotech dates.
April
5th.
No,
No, not.
17th and 18th.
It's not, I knew it wasn't tax day,
17th and 18th.
so
Day after.
visit infotech.org.
Evil day of the year.
I'm presenting.
You are presenting.
Yes, he is.
Yes, I will be.
Hooray, and that is part of the infrastructure track,
Yes, he is.
and that will be backups, correct?
All about backups.
Backup your shit.
Back it up.
They have an Adam screen that says Google Play.
I wanted to bring something up. I don't know. Has anybody hit the Android market recently?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's called Google Play?
Oh, yeah. It's renamed.
It's rebranded.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, go buy music in the Android market. I'm like, what? It's to make it
More
wider.
encompassing.
Yeah.
Play.google.com/store.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, that'll be.
Android market is no more.
That's right.
What?
The Android market is no more.
This is what you get when you go to market.android.com.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they rebranded everything.
They felt they were limiting themselves way too much with the word Android.
Yep.
Because it applies to the TV,
Oh.
it applies to
Okay.
the browser,
Tablets.
you know. In fact, I wouldn't be, they should also put the Chrome Web Store stuff in there too. I mean, it would make
It
sense.
should have been Google Market.
There's also a thing out there called the Android Linux. That's
What, did you want it to be
putting
G-Tunes?
Linux on your Android.
There could be an issue with too many people call things app stores,
No, that's,
so.
no.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Adam's gonna talk about.
Okay.
Technology people don't overuse the
XBMC.
term, no.
My turn.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, keep up.
Hi. I'm not talking about, what is it? It's only 7 o'clock. We got a couple, 3 hours, right?
We can waste more of your time.
We're gonna talk tonight about XBMC. And actually, you know, sometimes I do slides for these, not very often. But I actually did notes for this one, because I didn't think this presentation lent itself to slides very well. Noel killed a tree and printed them out. I shared the doc through Google Docs. It's on the list. If you didn't get the email, anybody can do it. And 2 people are looking at it right now.
Yeah, it doesn't want to open on my tablet.
You'll have to talk to Google about that. I can't help you. XBMC stands for the Xbox Media Center, and it was originally an alternate dashboard for the original Xbox way back in the day. And it actually still does run on the original Xbox. I have an old modded Xbox at home that runs a pretty recent version of XBMC. Now they officially dropped the Xbox version maybe 6, 7, 8 months ago, but there's still some guys that download the source, and in fact I have a link to it right there, xbmcsvn.com. You can get the Xbox build of XBMC, and it works pretty well. For, 15-year-old hardware, it works amazingly well. So the idea here, and I have some links here we won't go through, but they're for your reference. So what you really want to know is what can it do? It is a media center application. It is cross-platform, and then it runs on Linux, Windows, Mac, and the Apple TV devices as well. And it actually runs, well, because it runs on that, it runs on any iOS device. You can actually run it on your iPad as well. So it plays almost all video formats and most kinds of containers, including one of my personal favorites, .iso. If you have like a rip of a DVD in .iso, it'll do the whole menuing system and the extras and everything. I think that's pretty cool. Pretty much every audio format. It'll do images and slideshows, weather info. It was designed to actually be run with a keyboard, or as we'll see here in a few minutes, with a remote control as well, or you can use a mouse with it. One of the biggest advantages it has is it is extensible. It's open source software, of course, but it's extensible through community-created Python plugins. And as we'll see here in the demo, there are literally hundreds of plugins you can get to extend this, most of them having to do with getting content from some sort of internet source and displaying it in your media center application. It can talk to pretty much any network services, LAN, WAN, including universal plug and play, and a number of other weird little network things that you may have hanging off your LAN. It has database functionality. You point it to where your movies, TV shows, audio is. It'll pull it all into a database, and it will query online resources to try to figure out exactly what this audio is, TV show is, movie is, or whatever, with pretty good success if you have your stuff named, with any sort of logic behind it at all. And we'll see an example of that
It can do DVDs. Now, of course, if you're on Linux, right, it's depending upon the DCSS stuff to play DVDs, so there is a chance that you may have some brand new one that won't play. I don't even remember the last time I played a DVD, so I can't help you there. One of my other personal favorites, if you have karaoke files stored in MP3/CBR files, it has a karaoke interface, so you can actually play and see the little karaoke lyrics. It has full remote control access, so you can access it through a web browser. There are Android and iPhone apps that you can use to act as a full-featured remote control, and it also has a complete JSON API that you can use to integrate it into another application or just remote control it or query it over the network. And we'll see some examples of that too. And it can also act as a PVR front end. This is a little bit in beta right now. The only one I have experience with here is MythTV. But in this new version of XBMC, which I am going to be demoing tonight, which is version 11.0, it's currently at release candidate 2. They're expecting to go gold here in the next few weeks. But XBMC version 11 works very well as a MythTV front end to connect to your existing MythBox and play recordings over the network. Okay, what is it not? Whoa. It is not a PVR backend to record TV shows. It's not one of those. You got to have a TiVo, a MythTV, even Windows Media Center. Those do that. XBMC does not do that. Because it's on Linux for the most part, it will not do DRM content. And it does not have access to Netflix natively, although there are some sort of hacks to make that work. Okay, other options if what other things do stuff sort of like XBMC? Boxy is probably the best known one. Boxy is actually a fork of XBMC. And it's actually a company, Boxy.tv I believe is the website. And they used to have a software distribution called Boxy that's pretty much just like a reskinned XBMC with some other features and stuff added in. And then they sold what's called the Boxy Box, which was a little media center type set-top PC with Boxy preloaded on it. As of about 4 or 5 months ago, they stopped distributing the software, and they're just selling the hardware now. They're not making Boxy available as a standalone application. So unless you want to go out and buy a Boxy Box, it's really not an option anymore if you're just going to run it on your own computer or HTPC.
I wonder if anybody's questioned that because they're pulling it off XBMC, all that GPL code.
Yeah.
But in terms of GPL, they actually have to release it.
Yeah, there's nothing saying that they may not provide you the source code if you want it. But they're not officially making releases available anymore. So I don't know if anybody's pushed that. But again, there's nothing special in it. The only thing that's unique about it, I know, is they have inked a deal with Netflix. So the Boxy Box, although it is XBMC, can do Netflix natively. So I'm not exactly sure how they do that. But Rob, did you have a question?
I was just wondering if anybody did download the source.
I have not played. No, I loaded up Boxy once probably a year ago. It was really cool. I liked it a lot. At the time, it was, well, I'll get into that when I show the interface. I had a few specific issues with it. And we were talking about this at work. John, is this right or is it Plesk? Do you remember? Is it Plex or Plesk?
It's Plex.
This is right? Okay. Plex?
Plex is something else entirely.
Yeah, okay. Thought it was. This is another media center type front end. Media Portal is another one. I don't have a lot of experience with these. And of course, MythTV. Now, MythTV historically has focused on sort of the back end, talk to your PVR 350 cards and, do their actual recording. The front end has made pretty big strides over the last couple of years. And a lot of the add-ons you can get offer some of the internet-enabled functionality that your media centers get. I haven't really looked at that in depth for probably a year, but at the time it wasn't really anywhere close to the features that were available in XBMC. So I like Myth a lot. I've run it for a long time. I have not used the MythTV front end as my default front end interface for more than a year. It's been XBMC on the 4 systems I have at home connected to screens that do our media center stuff. It's all been XBMC.
Plex is a fork of XBMC.
It is. Okay. I didn't know. Okay, installation. Like I said, I'm going to demo here version 11, which is at RC2. There is no Linux binary available for it, so I downloaded it from source and installed it. One of the links I have at the top is a link to how to do it on a Fedora-based system. It's really pretty straightforward. I mean, it's pretty much your configure, make, install after you do a whole bunch of yum installations to get your pre-required packages. So it was nothing out of the ordinary. It took about 3 hours on my little laptop, but it worked out just fine. There are packages available for the other OSs, and they're making pre-built packages available for Windows and Mac of RC2 of 11.0. So if you want to try it on one of those operating systems, you can. So I'm not going to go through compiling it. It's pretty, just follow the instructions. It'll probably work. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at the actual application. And first we're going to talk about sort of the basic overview of the UI and moving around the interface here. So I'm going to go full screen here, see if the projector likes me. It is a skinnable application, and there are a number of skins available. I did not install any of them other than the default one, so this is the default skin. The primary interface it's these objects right here, and I'm just using the arrow keys to navigate. So as you can see, it's just wrapping around here. So it's system is just your configuration section. Programs would be any actual PC or Mac programs that you have. You can use this as a launcher for them. There's also some add-ons that I'll show you here that are programs. If you're running this on an Xbox, this is where all your games are, under Programs, Games. My 5-year-olds can't read, but they know to go to Programs, Games on the Xbox, and there they all are. Music, your MP3 or OGG collection. Again, all the other formats you can think of. OGG, give me some other ones. Thank you, FLAC.
Wave.
Yeah, WAV files, yeah. I'm re-ripping all my CDs to WAV.
Oh, what's that one? Something pack.
Just not DRM.
Yeah.
Of course, videos, we're going to focus on that quite a bit here. Pictures, either local pictures or internet services, and then weather. Look at the weather one, that's pretty simple. Figures out where you're at from your IP and just shows you nice little weather. I mean, pretty simple. Yay, weather. Okay, so getting around the UI, again, just arrow keys, enter, backspace is what's taking me back a level. It's the backslash key that is moving me back and forth between windowed mode and full screen mode. And there's some other ones for viewing things. Okay, so probably the first thing you want to do when you load up XBMC is you want to point it to where you have videos stored on either your hard drive or your network and get it to play them. So let's do that. I'm going to go to videos, enter here, and we see, whoops, let me get back to the menu here. Okay, this is an example of one of the primary interfaces inside one of these objects. You've got your main content window here, which is usually a list of items you can pick from. You've got media information over here, and then there's a left-hand menu that you can see this guy right here. I can either click on that with a mouse, or if I hit the left arrow, it'll pull that open. Confluence is the name of the skin that I'm using. Again, all this stuff is skin specific. The skin designers can change the UI any way they want, but for the most part, this UI stuff is pretty standard. You end up with a list of items, media information for the item you have highlighted, and then I kind of think of this as almost like your right-click menu for navigating the interface itself. So I can get out of there. So I don't have anything here. My two options are add videos, and this adds local or LAN directories for videos you have. Video add-ons is internet services. So let's do add videos first.
Are you going to try to do the Fox?
No, I was not planning on it. So I'm going to browse to a video source, and here's all the options I have. Now it shows me my hard drives here. It also supports the HD Home Run. Does anybody have one of those? Do you really? What do you think of it?
I love that line.
Yeah?
I saw them at CES. They had even a rack mount model they're coming out for the big installations.
I
don't
have one of the ones that does the cable card.
Yeah, there's
Oh, okay.
new ones too.
But it's
yeah.
basically like a standalone
It's a tuner.
that can take, and you have cable plugged in or over the air?
I have over the air.
You have over the air, okay.
Network cord.
And then if you have a device that on the front end can talk to it, like XBMC could, you could connect to it and stream your stuff. Okay? Replay TV, yeah.
Do you know if that works with DRM stuff?
Yeah,
Cable cards.
He's got the
that's a good question, Tom. I don't know the answer to that.
I thought I saw a
think
cable
Cox
card one out at CES. Yeah.
And MediaCom
So
support.
it'll allow you to stream it across the network?
Well, don't they have to supply with the decoder cards by law?
Yeah, I read that, but one time I went to the store, they no one have a clue about it.
No one knew what you're talking about.
Well,
Yeah.
I was just
That's a
curious.
great point. Yeah, I don't
Always
know.
not have a clue about it.
I don't know the
It's
answer to
the
that.
thing with-
Windows Media Center, you can only use like a Xbox or something
No.
as an extender.
Pete had
Oh, because then you can't record it or
Pete had
capture it or
cable
anything,
card for
right?
his TiVo, and they said,
So
well,
Brad.
it's $40 to come out and install it. It's like, to put a card in?
Yeah, it's $40.
Uh-huh.
I don't need them to come out and install.
Okay, what else we got? SAP streams. I don't even know what that is, to tell you the truth.
Let you.
Here's UPnP devices. If you've got if like some of those little D-Link file servers that are like this big will export your media through UPnP, you can hit that through here. I've done that before, it works really well. So I'm going to go to my root file system here because I just have some stuff locally. I have a directory called opt media movies. Okay, so I'm going to say that's my directory. What alias you want to give it? I want to call it movies. Okay, now, so I've just added that. The next screen that comes up, I know it's kind of hard to see back there. Well, if we turn off the lights,
these lights.
we'll all be in the dark.
Make it better.
Aaron will fall asleep and start snoring. We'll be embarrassed for him. Oh, look at that.
Oh, there's a glow from the
Is
screen.
the video, is the Ustream going to be able to see me at all? My glowing visage? Nope, can't see a thing. All right, I'm going to have to turn the lights back on. Anyway, look at this screen. This is the set content screen. This is really one of the coolest things about XBMC. This is where it scans your content and queries online databases to figure out what you've got, and then adds it to this local XBMC specific database. So I need to tell it, hey, what the heck's in this directory? And this is this is like a little list drop-down box, right? I could do it with the mouse. I'm just using the arrow key, and it's going to cycle through each option. So as you can see, it supports, apparently people still make music videos? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And apparently Yahoo Music Videos organizes them. So if you have a bunch of music videos.
The big one is
On
Vivo.
Yahoo.
That's a big.
Yeah, okay. TV shows. There's an open source database for TV shows called the tvdb.com, which is it's pretty cool.
Like IMDb for TV.
Pretty much, yep. Movie is the same thing. It's called the MovieDB. It tries to be like an open kind of version of IMDb.
Like IMDb used to be.
Yeah. Now, these are just the default ones. There are others. A lot of them are foreign, so if like you have a lot of foreign movies or something that wouldn't be in one of these, you can get those. And there actually is an IMDb plugin that you can get. It doesn't work half as well as the built-in one, in my opinion, but I tried it once and it was there. So I'm going to tell it that, hey, this contains movies. You know, I should probably, before we do this, let me show you what's actually in this directory so you can get an idea of what I'm actually trying to accomplish here. Come over here. So in opt media movies, I've got 4 files, and they are named Alvin and the Chipmunks with underscores, Backyardigans, Escape from the Fairy Tale Village. I know you guys have all been wanting
And
to see that.
Real Steel.
Real Steel, and Tangled.2010. So, I mean, pretty easy for humans to parse this, right? But there's quite a bit of naming differences here, right? We've got underscores, we've got dots, this one has a date in it, okay? So, I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to say this is movies. I'm going to go full screen again, it's easier to see. And then what you tell it is, there's a radio button here that says, if I can get down there, run automated scan. I'm going to turn that on. Another option is movies are in separate folders that match the movie title, if that's how you have your data stored, whatever. And then scan recursively to go down through everything. So I'm going to say run automated scan, and I'm going to say OK. And it asks, do you want to refresh info for all items in this path? Yes. And you'll get a little thing up here, downloading movie info. There it says Alvin and the Chipmunks. What it's doing is it's talking to the TVDB's API to get this data. The Backyardigans, Escape from Fairy Tale Village, Real Steel.
And you don't need an account. The API
No.
is open.
It's open, yeah. And eventually, what was the other one? Tangled. Okay, you do not have to do this. You can use XBMC to just browse your existing directory like a file manager and play your files. Fine. I do that sometimes for stuff that, like I got a bunch of home movies. Well, they're not going to be in any online database, right? So I just want to be able to browse them directly and play them. So you can do that. And as you can see here, I have 2 options now. Some new options got added to this list. I have one called Movies. I have recently added Movies. And I just have straight up files. So I'm going to go to Movies now. And then notice that it's sorted by these categories. Genres, title, year, actors. Because now it knows metadata about each file. So I'm going to say title. And here they are. Alvin and the Chipmunks gives a little, all this meta information it got from that movie database site.
Also tells you the audio encoding.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is an XVID video encoding and an MP3 audio
It's
encoding.
2-channel.
And it's SD instead of HD. These are all SD. Yep. So it's all the information either gleaned from the file or it got from that online database. If one of these is wrong, you can edit it. The other key that I use a lot here is the C key for context menu. If I'm viewing an item here, again, think of it kind of like the right-click button on an item. If I hit C here, it brings up a list of options for this item. And one of them is edit title. If for some reason XBMC screwed up and it put it in there wrong, then you can edit it and have it rescan to try to add it to the library. You can also manually remove something from the library or force a library update right from here. So that's the only thing about this library option. This was a one-time deal. It scanned it, it's done. It doesn't watch this directory all the time. You either have to put the scanner on a schedule to find new stuff, or you have to trigger a new scan whenever you add new things. I'll show you how to do that programmatically here in a minute. Okay, so I could also just go back to files here and say, you know, my directory is movies, here's the files. Now it actually changed the name so they look fancy because but these are just the files. And since it already downloaded the data, it's there. So again, you don't have to use the library, but it's
Those are
nice.
actually the titles, though, because you had Real Steel, or...
That's right, at Tango 2010, you're right. It fixed the title for me, you're right. So let's look at one here. Let's do another one here, and we won't add it to library order. I have one more directory. This one has TV shows in it. So I'm going to say root file system, opt, media, TV shows. I'm just going to save that. Now when it says set content, I'm just going to say, none. I'm going to say there's no, don't do any kind of scanning on this guy. So all I have here is the TV shows directory, and there, it just shows me the file name. 30 Rock, Season 6, Episode 10, Archer, Season 3, Episode 6, and Fringe, Season 4, Episode 4.
And it's pulling a sample frame out to show in the corner.
That's right. It's actually reading the file. It didn't connect to any system online. It read the file and it pulled a random frame out to give you a thumbnail. So if I hit enter here,
his name is David Robert Jones. He's a scientist.
come on, projector, keep up.
Another mention.
There you get Fringe. Okay. Keys here, volume is plus and minus. So the context keys on that list, C was the right click. When you're viewing something, it's M for menu. M will bring up a nice little menu down here with all your start, stop, forward, wind, whatever. There's also video settings here. So I can crop the black bars, I can change the view mode, original size, stretch, wide zoom, right? I can zoom in, I can change all this crazy stuff. Brightness, here, this is way too dark. I want to bump the brightness way up.
Sorry, I didn't see her.
There, that's a little bit easier to see. So you can, yeah, it was a good one, wasn't it? So you can tweak all this stuff. Okay, that was the M menu. It supports subtitles as well. If the subtitles are either embedded in the file or they're a separate subtitle file, it supports subtitles.
She knows where Olivia is.
Good luck getting Nina Sharp to break that.
Okay, I'm going to hit stop here. Goes back to the menu. So now, of course, if I want to actually set the content, I would do C, the context menu. I would say set content, and I'd pick TV shows. So I'm going to do that here, but we're not going to have it update because I want to do that programmatically here in a second. So I'm not going to check run automated scan. And I'm going to say, no, don't refresh this. So it didn't update the library. So it was told there were TV shows in here, but it hasn't updated the library yet. Okay, so that's videos. Let's look at some video add-ons. I have a list in that document I shared of some of the more popular video add-ons. And the interface to get more is just right from the application here, just get more. It connects to an existing add-on repository, sort of like a package repository in Linux, and shows you all the ones that are available, and then gives you a little blurb about them. Now, of course, these are the official ones. They may work, they may not. There may be third-party ones that somebody else creates that they give the zip file of, right?
There are, so look into the wiki, there are some other...
There are a ton of them, right? Yeah. So these are just sort of the official ones.
Giant bomb.
So like I have Academic Earth turned on, Al Jazeera, CNET Podcast. So what they look like, let's go look at one. Let's look at one of my favorites is TED Talks. Anybody familiar with TED.com?
Yep.
Okay, so the interface, it's pretty consistent, right? We have our list of items. We have our blurb about the item that's selected. So when I click on one of these, I'm going to get my list of items. So this has 3, newest talks, speakers, and themes. So I'm just going to say newest talks. It's going to do a little working thing. It's going to connect. Now I ran this upstairs earlier, so I had it cached. Otherwise it takes a little bit longer to grab that. Okay, so it gets a little blurb there. Let's see if I can change my view here. Oh, see, look, my default view is list here. Watch as I cycle through these different views of this content. There's big list with no image. There's thumbnail. There's poster wrap. That's sort of like the iTunes interface. Fan art. And finally, media info. This is my particularly favorite one because you get both the image, apparently not here, but you get the little blurb here, which I like. So, okay, I'm going to run this one. So I just hit enter on it. Just like I did enter on that video before, just like it was a local video, it's just going to take a little bit longer because it's got to work to actually start streaming it. But it actually streams it in real time and plays it. eventually.
Kevin, are you downloading packages?
That's suspended.
Okay. For the video portion of the
Waits for a second.
presentation.
Yeah, there you go. And there's TED Talk. So pretty much all the video plugins, and again, the same controls work, right? Minus and plus for volume, M for the menu, we'll pull it up down there. It's just like it's a local video. And you can skip forward. It takes a little bit longer to skip forward, right? Because it's got to cache it. But it works. You change the brightness, the aspect ratio, whatever. So that's really the cool thing about most of these video plugins is it's not like this content is specific to XBMC. I can go to TED.com and watch this. But the cool thing is it's all through this one interface that I can sit my fat butt on the couch and use my remote control and just find it all, right? I don't have to remember all these addresses and, oh, this interface is here. It's a consistent interface that I can use to watch all this media, whether it be local or whether it be internet.
So how does it get the TED info? The info from?
It's scraping the RSS.
Whoever wrote the TED plugin for XBMC wrote the Python code that said, okay, go to TED.com/whatever. I assume it's an RSS feed. I don't know.
Most of the time they are.
Yeah, most of the time it's some RSS feed, right? So it's specific to every plugin. I mean, there's no
RSS,
universal for that, right?
It's the same as a
RSS,
lot
or maybe
of
if they have a
the
JSON
Roku
API or
channels like
something.
that too.
That's right. This is very similar to the third-party Roku channels that exist that simply aggregate data from existing online services and offer it through a nice little Roku interface. I mean, that's why the Roku's so successful, right? It's not doing anything that you can't do from a computer. It's just such a nice streamlined interface. It's so convenient and it's so cheap that, yeah, they're kicking butt. If you want a little more power, you want a little more configurability, you know, you do XBMC on a HTPC.
And it works on the Raspberry Pi too.
And there actually is an official port of XBMC for the Raspberry Pi, that $35 little mini board computer. There was a video of it. Now the only issue that John and I talked about this quite a bit, the Raspberry Pi has a CPU on it. It also has a dedicated video processor to handle the decoding of video. Because otherwise there's no way it's powered enough, right, to do regular encoding like this guy is, or decoding. But it's optimized for video that's encoded with the H.264 codec only. So
The hardware is?
that's right.
It's
The
built
hardware
into the
is.
chip.
So I mean, let's do a little codec roundup here, quick. John and I were talking about this earlier today. With video, you have containers, codecs. Well, you have codecs for video codec and audio codec. So a container format would be AVI, for example. Inside an AVI file, you could have a video that's encoded with XVID, with MP3 audio. You could have the DivX codec inside an AVI container file. You could have an H.264. Over here, what are some other containers? MKV, right? OLUG is a container. MP4. MOV that's usually paired with the Sorensen codec, which is an H.264 codec. So it's uncommon to have this with any other codec.
What about MTS?
About what?
MTS?
I don't know what MTS is.
Oh, that's that AVC HD thing I was talking about.
Oh, that's the HD one. Okay,
That's
that
what
the
my-
HD cameras
Yeah, that's
do.
what my camcorder
Okay.
produces.
And we were totally guessing. Did we decide that was a container codec? I don't know.
Yeah.
Container too? No.
I think it is a
It's-
container.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't-
trying to
Adam,
think.
the reason
I don't know. I
Adam,
would
the reason
think
why it's a
codec.
container is because I know there's AVC HD, but certain manufacturers may have their own little additions onto it.
Oh, okay.
So
Probably.
it may not
What's the
be
standard
perfect.
DVD.
MP4.
He said DVD.
Yeah. Well, the files
That's
are like.
MPEG 2.
Sorry, MPEG 2 is the video codec,
And the audio varies, depending on.
It depends, like,
but it's got to be like 22.1
it could be DTS,
kilohertz,
it could
something,
be
something. Oh, right.
Well, it's got to be
Could
44,000 or
DTS.
48,000. is
Right,
the
it could be
high
whether it's
audio.
Dolby or whether it's DTS.
That's the
or-
encoding.
Or it could be
Yeah.
all of those,
Okay, so MPEG 2.
depending on the DVT.
So, for the Raspberry Pi, if your videos, I don't think the container matters. I think if your video is H.264 encoded, you're golden. If it's XVID, not so much.
I read a couple years ago about somebody was actually posting a complaint that H.264 is not supposed to be royalty free.
Yeah.
About
Yeah.
cameras.
They've
no
they've
protection.
extended their period of they're not going to come after you for 5 years.
The person that was doing it, I remember it was a female, she said that even the consumer pro cameras, they still are no license for public broadcast.
So they do it?
So,
But they're not licensed for public broadcast.
meaning
Oh,
that
that's
if
interesting.
you shoot a video, let's say a movie on those pro consumer cameras,
Huh.
you probably would have to ask permission to them.
Or transcode it down into something else.
But that's why they're not using H.264.
Huh.
Most of the prosumer stuff's going to be using AVC HD and MTS.
For that
Because
MTS.
AVCHD uses dot, H.
Does it?
It does?
Yeah.
I really don't know. Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
That's what mine, because I had to get the codec in order to play back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so the point of
At
this.
the time I did, it wasn't included in the standard stuff.
The point of this is, something like XBMC on a general purpose computing device like this will pretty much play anything you throw at it. You start getting into these more specialized devices, you may have to care about that a little bit more. And the thing to remember that I had to learn years ago kind of the hard way is that you have an AVI file. There is no such thing as just a generic AVI file. It's just an envelope that something is inside of, and it could be any one of these. This is what you really care about from the standpoint of, will my computer play this file? You've got to be able to talk to this guy. Pretty much all of them will open these containers, but it's a question of whether or not you can decode the actual video.
If you have a Roku with a USB port, you can play H.264 right off the USB.
In what container? Does it matter?
It shouldn't matter for the container.
Shouldn't matter what container? Okay.
Because it is a H.264 device. It's part of that Broadcom decoder chip.
Okay. Interesting.
So what's your hardware on your device? What kind of example you're applying?
I have an original Xbox, which does great, except when I make it try to play like 720p files. Like a half-hour show that's 720p is usually 600 or 700 meg. My Xbox just will not play it. It freezes on a frame and plays the audio. Then I get another frame and then I get the audio. This doesn't work. My next crappiest computer is a old Lenovo netbook with an Atom processor in it and a gig of RAM. They used to run Windows XP, and it can almost play stuff that I record over the air off my Mythbox over the network. It's so close. It's just dropping like a few frames. Everything else it plays fine. And then I remember my old laptop with the penguin on the back of it? That guy, damn screen finally broke. So now it's an XBMC. So I don't even know what the heck that is. I mean, it's only 3 years old, so it's a 3-year-old laptop. And then my server it's an older box. It's only got 512 meg of RAM, and it's like an AMD chip, but it's got an NVIDIA card in it, and it plays everything just fine. So those are my 4.
So an Atom with an NVIDIA card in it.
It should probably do it.
I think one of the reasons that my netbook isn't quite keeping up is because it's Intel video hardware. I'd be interested to try that.
If you have an
I don't know.
8800, if you have a 9200 or newer NVIDIA, you should be able to use the V to POW acceleration.
Right.
And it really cuts CPU usage.
That's where I run.
When I did my tests,
my old hardware.
without V to POW, I was playing some of my videos and it would take like 50-60% of the CPU. Once I enabled the acceleration, it was only using 16%.
That's amazing.
VDPAU.
For reference.
It sounds like a Vulkan thing, V to POW, but it's video display something.
I can play.
No, it's part of the driver. It's an API, an NVIDIA API.
And I don't have anything newer than 2004. So I'm running AMD Athlon.
My video card is a $40 G210.
Athlon XP.
And it's perfect.
With a period current cheap NVIDIA card. I think it's an NV18 chip in it. So this VD-POW is useless because there's nothing.
You have to have something newer than an 8800.
Yeah, it doesn't have the hardware for it to work with. And the only thing I have any problems playing is the over-the-air HD content.
Because it's too high encoded, yeah. That's a problem I have too.
There's just not enough horsepower to decode all that stuff.
Yep.
And my laptop, it's got a little bit more CPU horsepower. It's a 64-bit AMD processor, but it's got an ATI chip, which is weaker.
Interestingly enough, though, that netbook I have, if I download a show that's 720p, when I first start playing on that netbook, for probably the first 7 or 8 seconds, it's really behind, but then it's cached enough, it's caught up, and then it's smooth. So it doesn't do well off my myth box, but other stuff it does just fine, that I know is HD.
But I can play stuff from my HD. Can't
If you have a
play
Broadcom
I got
crystal
XBMC
accelerator, then it
up
usually will.
right now.
Yeah.
I just launched it from the command line.
So you've got 10. You got 10.1 then.
I'm not sure what it is, but I can't alt tab to.
No, hit the backspace key to go to windowed mode. Now you can alt tab.
It takes
Yeah, it takes over
focus.
your screen.
Backspace?
Upper left to lower right. Is that backspace? I'm sorry, backslash. Sorry. Backslash, my bad. You got it? There we go. Everybody. Okay. This is the music one. It works pretty much the same. You can add a source and add to the library. So if I say browse, media, music, okay. And then there's no library to pick from there. I don't even know where it queries, honestly. But wherever it was, it works. Scan items to library.
Done.
Music. Little Back in Black. Little
AC/DC.
Carly Simon. Yep.
No, don't play that.
Oh, I will.
No,
You
play
can't stop me.
AC/DC.
No, I wanted to show you was.
Is it
Oh, maybe I
visual
haven't
effects?
turned it on. This is a karaoke track, actually.
No, but play Have a Drink on Me.
Well, in that case, I want to hear you sing.
No. So vain. All right, we'll play Have a Drink on Me. And you know, you don't have to stop your media to get out of the interface you're in. If I just hit backspace here to go back in, it's just going to keep playing. Whether it's a video, whether it's audio, whatever. It's just gonna, like it'll play your video in the background here with the menu overlaid. So you just keep going until you play something else. It's a good song. So let's see. Let's look at some add-ons here. Oh, so now under music I have album songs because it's scanned them all, right? So I have albums, Back in Black. There we go. Add-ons. Let's see some of the music add-ons. There's some cool ones here. There's quite a few of them. Internet Archive for old podcasts and things like that. NPR. So you pick your state, and then you just pick your city, and it's a live feed of whatever NPR you want there. That's kind of cool. This is radio. It's access to over 4,000 international radio broadcasts from all these different websites somebody put together. So I have the IceCast one installed here, which I kind of like. And you just pick, by category. So let's just go down here. Here at folk music. It feels like a folk music night, doesn't it? Alpen Radio Volksmusik, 128K. So I hit it, you gotta let it queue up a bit. It's like a B-side Flock of Seagulls is what it sounds like. I like that. That's kind of funky. All right. Oh, there's some Bill Romantica. You wouldn't think they might be giants. Some other lesser-known works. All right, anyway.
That's just
Yeah, Sergio.
Some of the plugins sometimes do not work. Do you know what is the main reason they're supposed to be written in Python? Why?
Yeah, well, like, for example, some of them are maybe scraping data from sites, and the site updates, so the scrape doesn't work anymore.
The app is out of date, but...
Right, so the developer has to go and update it. And some of them, what I've seen in the, if you go to the Get More, it'll say here, or it says enabled, it'll say broken, if they know it's particularly doesn't work and they have somebody has to redo it. But I haven't had too much of a problem with them. Let's, I go back to, well, yeah, I mostly use the video add-ons, but that works pretty well. Programs, this would be applications. I installed one add-on, Facebook Media. I put my Facebook username and password in here, and so right from this nice little interface, I can browse Facebook pictures and videos of my friends and pictures and whatever. So if you do the Facebook thing, this is a kind of nice little interface just for that. Works pretty well. Rob?
I have some lower level video questions. I'll just wait till.
Okay, fair enough. There you go. There you go. That's most of one of my children. That's all of one of my children. That's most of me. There's a Lego Star Destroyer.
Oh, no way, you bought...
Oh yeah, not the big one. Not the 5,000 piece one.
Not
one-
extravagant,
not
but
the
extravagant. Goofy.
The 1,000 piece one.
I told CJ that in 2 years, we'll buy the big Super Star Destroyer.
Oh yeah, you better buy it now. It's
You
gonna
got
be
repel
it's
toys
a
of
lot
that
money already.
magnitude?
It's a lot of money already. Okay, what do we want to look at next? Let me go back to my outline. I've gone completely off course. Okay. Couple things here. Identifying video sources and updating the library. If you get shows from lots of different places, I download TV shows off torrent sites. Just so everybody knows. I do that.
Public domain.
If you do that, no, they're really not. If you do that, it's true. I do.
Guys,
I
the
do.
handcuffs are gonna show.
That's right. Nobody's showing up yet.
the stream still running?
The file names are just weird. They're all over the place. And so, in an attempt to sort of standardize on this, there's a Python script on GitHub called TV Namer, which connects to that same source that XBMC does, called the TVDB, and attempts to figure out what the name of this file is from the cues in the file name, and it renames it nicely. But unfortunately, it puts a bunch of space in there, and I just hate spaces in file names. Hate them, hate them, hate them. So I wrote this little guide to take all spaces out of file names. So what I do when I download something is I run it through TV Namer, so it names it appropriately. I run it against my little spaces to underscore shell script, and I drop it in my XBMC directory, and then I tell XBMC to update the library, and there it is. And it shows up. Okay, we went through plugins, a bunch of different plugins. Some of these are really cool.
Revision 3.
Yeah, Revision 3. Giant Bomb is a game site. Are you guys familiar with the Khan Academy? Oh, that is an awesome site. It's video lectures. It's like an online university. It's video lectures on every kind of topic you can imagine. It's starting out kind of be science and technology based, so it's chemistry, it's algebra, it's calculus, it's astronomy, it's physics.
Do they do a big thing with math? With
Yes.
Breaking math down into
Huge sections of math. Oh, it's fantastic. And it's just you can just go to go to the site khanacademy.org. But there's a nice little interface for it. PBS, National Geographic, and some of these are pretty cool. I mean, we dropped cable. Yeah, we dropped cable about a year ago, and honestly, one of the only things we really missed was the Food Network and some of like the Discovery Channel stuff. So between the Food Network plugin here and the DIY network, there's a lot of good content on there. So it's pretty handy. Yeah, Twit, yep, right there. YouTube, of course, I didn't show that. Vimeo. Oh, the trailers is an interface to Apple's movie trailer site. So that's kind of nice. Image add-ons, Flickr and Picasa. There's the music. Oh, if you use GrooveShark, there's a connection for that. There's some programs. Oh, you can have it check your Gmail. Oh, there's a PBX add-on if you've got an Android box. Or an Android box. If you've got an asterisk box. So when you get a phone call, you'll get the caller ID pop up on your XBMC screen. It'll pause the music that you're playing automatically. It's pretty cool.
That's nice.
Okay, so let's talk about maintaining this guy and interfacing from a remote device. So go back to the application in system over here. So here's where you configure everything. This is, there's appearance, video, all these different settings where you can tweak. I won't go through all of it. But what I want to go to is network. So here's shared video and music libraries through PNP. So not only is this a UPnP client, it will also act as a UPnP server. So if you point it to where all your devices are, no matter where they're at, you can share them all out through UPnP if you have another device in your network that'll do that. Allow control of XBMC via HTTP. So I have that enabled. You pick the port and the username and password if you want to, and then you can hit it through a web interface. So let's see what that looks like here. What is my?
I don't suppose it does HTTPS, does it?
No. Oh, you can always proxy it, I suppose. 122.1. So if I go to what did I say that was? 122.1, 8080.
Colon.
No, it's a new protocol. It's a semicolon. Come on, you guys, you got to keep up. XBMC. Whoops, fat finger the password.
Wait.
Your caps lock is on.
Son of a bitch.
I noticed you tried to type a password. Would you like help?
So remember, I have some those 4 movies that I put in my database. Now, of course, this isn't going to stream them. What's it going to do? It starts playing it.
There's your play button. To your left.
It wasn't big enough and red enough, apparently.
I thought it was the horse.
You couldn't see it over the.
There. So it's a remote control, essentially. Or, if you're not happy with that, you can just click on remote, and there's just a straight up remote. Stop. I said stop, damn it.
thinking.
It's
No. Hey, have you ever tried to skip through previews on a Disney disc? It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, you get the point here. So this is controlled through a web browser. I'm going to stop this. Stop. Okay. Now I didn't install this yet, but there is a XBMC remote app for Android and iOS devices as well. That is pretty cool. It's over Wi-Fi, so if you're on the same network, you fire it up and point it to it, and it looks pretty much like that. It'll show you all the nice little pictures. You just hit play, and it'll start playing it. It's pretty cool.
As if you don't use your phone for an
That's right. Like I don't need another reason to have my phone.
Now it's your remote control.
But it's justification for your wife, so you can get an iPad, damn it.
For a big, in fact, my G-Tab, my ViewSonic G-Tab, has pretty much given its life over to an XBMC remote at my house. That's pretty much all it is. Two options you got to check here: allow programs on the system to control XBMC, and then this one, allow programs on other systems to control XBMC if you want to have some of this stuff work. Okay, the other thing I want to show you now, so we can do it, we can control it through a web interface, we control it through a third-party application, we can also control it from a command line using the API that's provided. Now, I threw a couple of scripts in here. So in my opt directory, I have a bin directory, and I have a little script called update XBMC library. Oh no, my password's QWERTY for XBMC. So what this is doing here is it's calling curl, which is just a command line HTTP browser. You know, you could do this with, I suppose you could do this with links or wget or whatever. But it's actually accessing the JSON RPC that's exposed via the XBMC web interface. So I tell it my IP. Of course, I got to change my IP here. 122.1. And it's just, there's, on the wiki documentation at xbmc.org, it's a whole list of what methods are available for you to call programmatically. And it's just about everything you can think of doing from the interface, you can call programmatically. So you could write your own interface to this guy to remote control it. You can manipulate it programmatically here. I'm calling videolibrary.scan, so I'm making it update the library. So I like this because I can do it remotely. I can SSH in my box from wherever, copy a file into the right folder, run this little script, it updates, and I actually have it in a loop. It actually touches all my front ends and does it all automatically. And it updates them all. So let's see what that looks like. If you remember before, we already have an updated movie library, right? But we don't have an updated TV show library. I don't have TV shows in here. Remember, I added that source and I said it's TV shows, but I haven't updated the library yet. So I'm going to go and I'm going to run this guy. And hopefully, I got an OK back, and notice this little guy popped up right here. So it immediately started a scan of the library. It found the Archer episode. Now I should have, whoops, videos. Oh, I don't know how TV shows in here. Huh. Well, it said it was updating. I should have TV shows in here, but I don't. Oh, I wonder if I, hold on, let me check this here. Change content. Run automated scan. I wonder if I didn't have that selected. Scan for new content. So it just triggers, so that was weird. Maybe it's not finding it for some reason. Media, TV shows. I don't know why I wasn't finding this. Okay, well, anyway, that's how that works. And you can control that programmatically. Again, look at the wiki documentation for all the different options you have there for the methods that are available to you. Okay, finally, the last thing we're going to look at is how to control this guy with a remote control. So what I have hanging off here is a little IR dongle, and the little front came off, it comes on there. This came with the StreamZap PC remote. You get these off ThinkGeek or Amazon or whatever, they're between 20 and 30 bucks. I like these for a couple reasons. One, they're USB. Having used 9-pin serial port ones in the past, USB is a hell of a lot easier. They're relatively inexpensive, and I like it because you don't have to use this remote with it. I have 3 of these at home, and on one of my systems, I'm just using the IR interface here, but I'm using one of the big Logitech Harmony thingers. And so I use that as a remote, and I use this as a receiver, and it works great. And there's native Linux support for it, and it works really well. So if any of you have ever messed with LIRC, you know what a black hole time sink it can be. And it can be pretty confusing. But I'm going to get out of here quick. I'll show you, I'll do a quick walkthrough of what it takes to set up LIRC on a Linux box. No source compilation or anything, just assuming you've got kind of standard setup here. Okay. So according to our documentation, step 1 is, we're assuming that we're using the Streams app. Of course, there are many other options. The kernel module is just called Streams app. I didn't have to do anything. I plugged this guy in. The kernel saw it. This is Fedora 16. The kernel saw it, automatically loaded it up. I didn't have to do anything. Okay, you have to start the LIRC daemons. LIRCD. It's going to read a configuration file that lives in the etc directory, of course. etc LIRC, and this is lircd.conf. Now, what this does, this configuration file is specific to your remote control. What you have to do is you have to tell your computer what kind of signals it's going to be getting from a remote control. And what it's particularly concerned about is, of course, what the different buttons are, but also things like the signal, how long the signal is coming from the remote, how much latency there is between, like when you hold down a button, how much latency is there between each signal that's sent, because different remotes do that differently.
That's
So
kind of like the key repeat rate.
that's exactly right. It's your key repeat rate, but for remote controls. Now, the lirc.org website has this huge database of existing lirc.conf files for many, many remote controls. It's also relatively easy to create your own. LIRC comes with a program called IR Record, right there, that will just say, okay, I'm listening, hit a key. And you hit a key, and then you say, what key is that? That's key number 8. Okay, hit the next key. Oh, this was right arrow, and you just name them all. And you just go through every button in your remote, and it'll create the file for you. So we're going to start this guy up here. Before you even do any kind of config stuff, you can just test to see if anything works at all. This is probably a good first thing to do. So I'm going to start and I hit restart on here. Now there's a program. In my opinion, I've messed with this for a long time. In my opinion, one of the reasons that people have the biggest problem with LIRC is because the names of the application that come with it have no standard at all. You'd think they at least would start with like L or something, right? No. So we want to run a program right now that will just simply listen on the socket that LIRC just connected to and just tell me if it's getting anything at all. What name do you think would that program have? LIRC listener? It's called mode 2.
LIRC.
MODE 2. Not to be confused with mode 3, which will reset your video card back to the Visa local bus setting. Don't mistype that one. I'm just hitting random keys. What I'm proving is that there is essentially communication between this device and my little receiver here.
Is that space you're talking about?
Yes, this is the space between signals, that's right. The pulse is some other meaningful number that I don't have any idea what it is. I also like this guy because it gives you visual feedback if it's actually getting a signal. You get the nice little red light. And I actually did have one situation where I set this up for a friend of mine. And he had the PC sitting next to his TV, this hanging off the PC. As soon as he turned his TV on, this light turned on and stayed on solid. And it didn't work. For whatever reason.
It was getting flooded.
His TV was giving off enough whatever that it was unusable. I'd never seen that before.
What type of TV was that?
A plasma is all I remember.
Okay.
It was an old plasma screen. So maybe that was the deal. I
might
should have moved it further away or something. I don't know. That's the only weird thing I've ever had
I don't
happen.
think you're going to be able to get out of range of that.
Should have got the tinfoil out, right?
Yeah.
The little Faraday cage around it. All right, so step 1, we got the LIRC daemon running. It's got the socket open. It's listening on USB. I ran mode 2 to verify there's actual connectivity. That's good. So far, so good. Okay. Now, this is where we have to create the lircd.conf file, which I've already done. And again, you can either download this or you create one yourself with that IR Record program. Here's what mine looks like. This is the specific stuff for the remote control. It's like, here's that gap we talked about. I don't know what all this means. And then the codes. And this is important because this is the actual name of your keys. And we'll use these in the next step. So we can say, hey, when the program gets this signal, it actually means this
That's
key.
basically a scan code off a keyboard.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Or an ASCII representation of character.
Right. And I also like the Streams Out remote because it's got 4 little colored buttons down here that you can make do whatever you want, which is kind of cool. So you can do fun
Oh,
macros.
those are programmable.
Yeah, you can do fun macros with those. Okay, so we have LRC running. We verified it with mode 2. We got our config file created. Our next test is to actually see if it's correctly reading this specific remote. All we verified with that mode 2 is that it was receiving IR signals from something. Could have been from space, right? We want to make sure it's actually recognizing this remote. For that, we use another weirdly named script called as dumb as that would be, that would make too much sense. This one's called IRW. So I type IRW here, and if I hit the down arrow, it says down, Streams App PC remote, up, right, left. And that is one of the problems, and I don't know if it's just because this guy is old and I've hit it a million times. I get a lot of key repeats on here. I did not mean to hit left twice here. I hit it once.
Right twice?
Or right twice, but the keys are kind of starting to stick. I've had these for a couple years.
Usually you can take it apart and clean the
Yeah,
contacts.
contacts might need to have a little
Yep.
Yeah, like your old
alcohol
Atari 2600.
So green, red, yellow, blue. So it works, okay? Okay, so we verified that this guy can actually talk to my computer. It can send the right keystrokes. Now, what the heck do we actually do with it? Well, this is where you need a config file, either in the home directory of the user you're running as, called .lircrc, or back in this etc lirc directory called lircrc. And this is where you actually configure the commands. Whoa.
That's some new fancy standard.
This is a little section that defines each key. So my begin and end, when the menu button is pressed, I want the program called IRX event, which is another script that comes with LIRC, to send the key M to the current window. So when I hit menu, I want to send M. This is where I'm basically making this guy act like a keyboard, right? We're running XBMC with the keyboard and all the keys and whatever. I'm just going to map all those keys to a button on here. Now, I'm using this little helper program called IRX event. Some applications have what's called native LIRC support, which means they will read this file directly and you don't need this helper application IRX event. But I honestly don't know if XBMC does that. I've always just done it this way and it's worked. So, and you can see I have all these keys defined. P is pause, return is okay, right? And remember this right here, this capital stuff, this is what has to be the same as what's in your lirc.conf file, because this is what maps to that scan code. Otherwise it won't work. Okay, so now I have to make sure that IRX event is running. You can do a daemon it and you can run it in the background. So now that's running. And as long as that's running now, I can go here. I can run XBMC. I'll go full screen. With my little mouse here, I can do right arrow, left arrow, down, enter.
I like the clip,
Enter.
the audio.
Oh, the audio feedback. You can turn that off, or you can turn it on.
No,
right?
I like that because that's
Yeah.
useful.
Yeah. So, that's pretty slick. I like that a lot.
What else is fun is finding out where on walls you can bounce that signal when you're not playing.
I've done it off mirrors before. When the TV's all turned, I can bounce it off
Well,
the
sometimes when I'm
mirrors.
laying on the couch, there's stuff in the way, and it's like I gotta
Yeah.
get up here.
And this
I found
guy
out
works-
I can bounce it off the ceiling pretty
This
good.
guy works pretty well. I mean, I've backed up maybe 20 or 30 feet, and it still works pretty well. So that's XBMC. Give it a try. It's a pretty cool program. It's pretty complex. It's got a lot of moving parts, but I think it's once you get used to it, it's pretty straightforward, and it can do a lot of fun stuff. Rob, you had some underlying video questions.
Yeah, XR&R, I mean, hooking this up
Oh,
to
yeah.
a TV, I found I used XR&R.
XR&R is the thing built into X Windows that allows you to rotate the screen and flip it, and doesn't it also let you do like overscan and things like that to resize the screen?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay, I've never done that. I've done the flipping stuff. I've never done the...
In this context, it's enabling like S-video out and what resolution you want to S-video out.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, I mean, maybe there's other ways to do it. I'm sure there is,
Well,
but
okay, one thing on that. I have done this before on my projector at home under settings appearance. Oh, hold on, no, that's not right. Settings video. There is a where is it?
Playback?
No, it's is it video calibration?
Sync
Oh, there's
playback
your
to
Vita
display.
Pal Studio level converter.
DD Powell.
Somewhere there is a. Hold on, they changed this in 11.
There's two parts.
No, it's called video. It's video calibration.
Well,
It
there was
allows you
AV sync
to-
method that's grayed out on that playback screen.
No, that wasn't it. It's a manual. It's a manual video calibration. Oh, for God's sake, what is it? Is it system? Here it is.
Video calibration.
Video calibration. So here's my settings. Defaulting to 1024 by 768, which is what this projector does. But now I can do video calibration, and I can say, oh, that's got to be tweaked in a little bit. See that that blue thing up there? And down here, I'm a little off over here. My
How'd you go
overscan.
from upper left?
Enter. I'm just hitting enter.
Okay.
And then it's the subtitle or the on-screen menu. That was a little low for me. I'm going to pull it up a little bit. And then this is supposed to be a perfect square. And I'm never very good at this because I can't quite judge it. But.
You're standing in front of it, so.
So you can tweak that guy. And then it saves that. And then
This is your
even if your
overlay
X Windows,
compensation.
even if your X Windows is bigger than your screen, this guy will be right whenever you're in XBMC.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Do a test pan.
Well, anyway, I didn't do that.
Got a ways to go. At least everything's downloaded.
I used XR&R.
Yeah.
I found that after a lot of frustration, calling XR&R once or twice didn't work. I had to call it 3 times
3 times the charm.
in a row.
Really?
Yeah, like after I powered on the TV and I powered on the tablet.
You know Allison won't know anything I tell you 3 times is true.
I thought everybody did.
That's why you do sync, sync, sync.
Sync, halt.
I just thought, I mean,
Yes, that's right.
Yes,
that was
I do
one of the more
remember the
difficult
good old
parts, is
days
just
of
getting
having to
that
do
video
that.
out to work. I found that when I called it, I just wrote a script that called the same X and R command 3 times in a row and just voila, it worked.
I guess I thought S-Video out would be dependent upon the video card driver you had,
Yes.
like in the kernel, as opposed to X Windows. But I guess not in this case.
Command I was running was, you could just run XR&R and it lists the different outputs.
Okay.
When I run it on this machine, it's, say TV1, DVI1, VGA1,
Okay.
and
Yeah, I don't know. My only experience with hooking these up is VGA or HDMI. I've never done S-Video.
See, I have run into some with the, at least one, 10.2 with the HDMI.
Really?
For some reason, ALSA did not get the sound. So I actually had to go in and hack my ALSA config.
Just have it send the sound
To get the right.
over HDMI.
To get the, yeah, to get it to grab the sound from the HDMI device.
Interesting.
do you have any thoughts on, I can play DVDs over the LAN just fine as VLC.
Yeah, because you do
Play
this
it.
client-server thing with VLC. You start the VLC server, and is that what you mean?
That's really just opening up an NFS mount.
Oh, okay.
Nothing real fancy, not the DLC streaming stuff. But I try to do the same thing with Xbox Media Center and with the Mint front end. I get a lot of flicker. Everything's the same.
Really? It's like it can't keep up, huh?
It's a vertical flicker thing going across. And I don't know if it's, I didn't see something in there about doing overlay.
Well, there's vertical blank sync. There was an option. There's an option in the video for post processing. Maybe there's something there. When you're playing a video, you can pull up that, hit M, and then click on the little thing that looks like a film reel where I set the brightness. There was a post processing option there that you can configure on a per video basis, and then if you're happy with it, you can make it the default for all videos. I don't know, Rob. I've never messed with any of that, but yeah, I would start there if it works. I mean, obviously, if it works in VLC, there's no reason that it shouldn't work in this.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty cool, Adam. Thank you.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I've used it for a long time. Excited to have 11.0 out, mostly because the MidTV plugin works again. MidTV's been broken for a while, so I haven't been able to upgrade too far. And
They
I
changed
actually
the
have
protocol on MythTV.
Yeah, they changed the Myth protocol, but it works pretty well. We don't have MythBox to connect here too. I can show it to you, but it works just like a plugin. And yeah, you can run it just with the remote and everything.
So, but
It's pretty slick.
that's why you bring this one?
This one, I'm not sure why Kevin brought this to show off his old 350 box. Why'd you bring this,
No,
Kevin?
because somebody in the room is purchasing from it.
Oh, well, there you go. It's a swap. Okay. Anything else? I think it's about time to go to phase 2 of this meeting.
Mode 2?
Or mode 2, if you prefer.
It's mode 3.
Touche. Don't go to mode 3, which is next door. Okay, it looks like we got some good ideas for topics for next time. We'll have to see if we can find some willing participants to talk about that. And we'll go from there. The document I put on the list, the files that I referred to, like my little update file and my LIRC configs, I'll make available as well. So if you guys want to do one of these or whatever, you can just download them after we recreate
I got a
them.
question about the kernel.
The Colonel. Colonel Sanders?
God, I'm so bored.
He got into the UN, what it's supposed to.
Colonel Sanders did?
Yes.
There used to be,
3 feet for iPads.
in the proc directory, I think it was, you know, where you got different CPU speeds, and the
Well, there's-
CPU governor would,
There's proc CPU info, is that what you're talking about? It'll tell you what your, you mean like controlling your CPU speed?
yeah.
Oh.
There was one, and it gave the possible speeds that
Oh.
the governor could.
You know anything about that, Tom? I don't either.
It's gone now.
It's gone now?
It does, I can't find it anywhere anymore. I've got a problem with that old AMD 64 processor overheating.
Oh, and you want to back it off a
And
little
it's like,
bit.
if I could take that 1800 megahertz level off and have it max out at 1600.
Do you think that'd be
I'm
a,
not gonna play around putting odd numbers in there.
Yeah.
It had 3, it had 800, which is its idle
Your
speed.
BIOS doesn't have the ability to.
oh yeah, your BIOS. Do you think that'd be a kernel command line, like on the grub line? To pass it like CPU equals something to,
But if I could just limit it to those 2 speeds, the 800 and 600,
Thank you for watching.
it'd be okay.
it won't overheat.
I